Okay, so we've got a 2007 Mini Cooper and the heater blower needs replacing, and basically I'm going to have to take the whole dash unit out on this car because the vent module covers one of the screws and stops us being able to get it. Well, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but the blower motor's up there right underneath the dash. A few tools I know we're going to need, a couple of trim tools. There's a 16 socket for the steering wheel, you need a 10mm for the battery terminals, a T20 Torx driver, a T30 Torx bit and a T40 Torx bit, and a little flat blade screwdriver just for the picking bits and trim, etc. And there's 2 bolts, one either side of the dash on the vent that's situated under here, and they're very awkward to get to, so this little tool enables me to put the T drive in there, and obviously it's just enough then, a little bit of an angle I can get in to loosen the screw. So I'm going to try and go through it as much as I can with a bit of detail. Hopefully it might help somebody one day. Hope it helps. First thing I'm going to do is disconnect the battery because of the airbags. So I've got 2. I'll take off the earth and then I'll take off the positive. I like to make sure they're both off, just to be on the safe side. So with them both off, I'm now confident I can remove the airbags without any issues. To start with the steering wheel, on the underside, about 6 o'clock position, there's a little hole on the bottom of the steering wheel. I'm not sure if you can make it out, but there's a tiny hole. If you get a screwdriver, like I've just got the little flat blade going in, it's a bit fiddly, but you should be able to feel the sort of spring retain, and if you get it right and you push it, it will release the spring that releases the centrepiece of the wheel. It is a bit fiddly and you do have to have a bit of a play. It's not really something that you can just go straight on. You'll have a mess around and you'll feel it. You're sort of going in straight with the steering wheel really. You'll feel it. And when you push it, it just releases the airbag. So behind the airbag you'll have a connector there. If you just push down that tab there, so you can get it in there, that will just pull that out, and then the earth, on the earth there's a little clip there. If you just push in there and then lift, the earth comes straight off. So always put your airbag somewhere safe when you store it, just in case. Touch wood it doesn't, just in case it does go off. You don't want it catching you out. With the airbag off, you can see now the hole at the bottom, so it comes in here and it'll push the spring unit here, which are these. So as I push, see how the mechanism that all goes in obviously releases the clips on the airbag, just to give you an idea on how that works. So when you fit it back, you just make your connection, make sure your earth's on, literally just push and it snap locks into place. So I'm going to undo the bolt, which is 16mm, and that'll be the steering wheel off. With the bolt removed from the steering wheel, you can actually see there's already notches on the end that go there and there to line it back up when you fit the steering wheel. So you haven't got to worry about marking anything, obviously. Just make sure your lines are lined up and it should go on exactly how it came off. A little bolt, that's it. So that's off. So for now, next step for me, I'm going to take off the lower steering wheel cowl cover, this piece. There's 3 T20 screws run across the bottom, and then it just clips on the top, so you just give it a good pull and you should release both of these. If you can try and come out as straight as possible, don't try and bend this, just pull it and it will pop out. I think there's 2 or maybe 3, and then these pull off and clip back on, which then I can take that off, and there's T20 screws again there, and then one behind there, which obviously I can get to once I pull this panel off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So once I've undone the 3 screws across the bottom and I've pulled it off the clips, there is the 3, you can see them, 1, 2 and 3. They obviously just go into there, so that's that off. So this panel here, literally, if you can just get your fingers in and give it a pull, it will come off. There's a clip there, there and there, which you can see on the back side. So it literally just clicks on, and then you've got the 3 fixings for this. Just take that off and get it out of the way. Same again this side. This panel here will literally just click off. Just get your fingers on it, give it a pull. I find if you just open the glove box, you see you can get the swing on the top and it will come out. Just there you are. So that's the same again, 3 clips that just secure that on the side. There's the glove box, and there's 2 T20 screws there. So that's that, the 2 screws, that's came off. So behind here you can actually see the heating matrix. Obviously the internal, if you like, radiator where it can get the heat from for the cabin, and the pipe work obviously goes behind through the bulkhead onto your cooling system. This is the box for the cabin air filter. Literally just 2 little clips here, one's broke on here, but you just unclip that drops down and there'll be a filter in there. You just pull the filter out. I've taken it out already. We've got a new one to go in when we build it up. So once I've taken off the panels, I'm going to take off the A-pillar trim, both sides. So again, a little tiny screwdriver, flat blade. If you just gently just dig it in, you'll be able to just get behind it. There you are. So there's one cover, because there's a T20 screw there. Once I've undone that, I can just pull the panel. There's 2 clips or 3 clips behind there, I think 2, where you just pull it and it'll come straight off. And I'll do that for both sides to reveal that screw that I talked about earlier, the one that's awkward to get to, that's under here on the heater vent. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Right, so I'm going to remove the inner glove box. So you push it to open. There's a trim here and here, but literally, if you just get the trim tool, it'll pop straight off. Look. And that will reveal the screws behind there. You can start seeing them, but it's literally as easy as that. Same this side, just get the trim tool straight off and just click on. Just put them aside, and then this trim here is actually just pushed on and a bit tricky. You do have to just get behind it and give it a good pull. I used this trim tool so I can just hook behind and pop it. It will be worth just moving this down and out of the way. So obviously you unlock it here, just push it down as far as it can go, lock it off so it's out of the way. Gives you a bit more room then, so you can get your hands in to grab the trim both sides, just so you can pop that off, because that's the rest of the screws. One thing worth mentioning now is there are that many screws. If you take a panel off at a time, put the panel with the screws somewhere, just anywhere along as all together. It just helps it, makes it a lot easier and helps when you're building it back up. Although if you did end up with a big pile of screws, you've pretty much got two sizes, and it's quite self-explanatory what will go where and what will fit in where, as the case might be. So I'm going to remove this now, and then I'll show you the screws, and then we're going to take the vents off. We're going to look at taking centre cowl off, and obviously the vent driver side, and then we'll carry on. That's it. So there's the 3 pins, and they'll go in there and there. If these white clips do come off with the trim, just obviously pop them off the trim and then put them back into the holes. Makes fitting it just a bit easier. So we'll put that to the side for now. I'm going to just pop this trim off, which literally, again, just get the trim tool in there, that clips straight off. Same both sides, same that side, but there is a electrical connector to the airbag switch on the passenger side. But once you've done it, taken all off, we'll undo the screw there, the torque screw there, and then there's one there and one there, and I'm going to do that both sides, and then this trim will just come off, and I'll do that to both sides. So take the cover surround off there. You've got T20 screws, one there, one there, one there, and then one there, and there's 2 at the top. So this little cover here, this is actually a cover, so if you just get a little trim tool, get a little pop, it'll just click out, look. And there's obviously 2 of those, one that side, one this side. Again, if you can just see, it's there, just the first ridge, first vent. If you just pull down towards the dash, it will just come out, look. Just unclicks, and then in there at an angle like that, there's T20 screws. So they do say recommend at least having either a magnetised T20 Torx piece, or just have a magnet handy, and once you know and you feel that it's undone, so I feel I'm in there, see it's at an angle, so once I'm done, if you undo that until you know, because you can feel like that, like that it's not going to undo anymore. So if I go and get the magnet, and I'll just put the magnet in, I'll be able to pull the screw out. So I'll get the magnet, just pull it out, you can feel it on the magnet straight away, look, just to get it out. And when you're pulling it in, to be honest, you can sort of get the screw roughly drop it in the little pocket, and you can just get your finger and you'll actually just wiggle it back into its hole. So I'll do the same this side. Because it's at a funny angle, it's just about getting on the end of the screw. There. So I'm on the screw. Same again, just undo it till you can feel that it's not actually unscrewing anymore. You'll actually hear it as the screw pops back on its fedlock. That's it. Put that aside. Again, just get the magnet, pull it in the hole. And there's the screw. So once I've undone the rest of the T20 screws, there's 4, it will just simply come off, and if you get it up onto the dash, just might need to just move that out of the way. Just lift it up on the dash, you've got your hazard switch connector there, so I just need to disconnect that and I can take the trim away. So disconnecting this from your hazard switch, I just got the little flat blade screwdriver again, and just sort of got a grip on here and just basically just pulled it down and it comes out, so we can take that away. So this is how we're looking so far. I'm going to now open up the glove box, and there's torque screws along there, and then across the top, and that will remove this leather padding. Same again here, there's the 4 screws, and that will come off. And then same for the ignition, your key slot over the screws, unscrew them. When you pull that out, you just have to disconnect this from the back of the unit, and that'll be all the leather panel trim off. Centre console will be 4 screws to this side, to that side, and then this panel here will come forward, and you'll just disconnect the controls for these. So I'm going to get on that and I'll show you when it's done. So that's what it looked like with the trim pieces removed, and I've undone the 4 T20 screws, and then behind this panel here, if you just get the trim tool, just go from the top, you can just dig it in, pull down, and then that panel just clips in. It's literally just clicked in, but you have to pull it down from the top and then pull it out, because there's a little hook at the bottom. And then you'll have a T30 torque screw just in the centre there. I'm sorry if the lighting's not brilliant, but you undo that right in the middle. So you'll unscrew that, that's it. So it's a T30 screw, it's a chunkier screw than all the rest of them. But that then frees up the centre. There's a couple of clips, just give it a little pull, and then you'll have to just disconnect the harnesses. So it's a bit awkward, a bit fiddly, but you squeeze the sides in here and here, and then that will obviously come out. And then this clip here, if you push that little piece in at the top, and then you'll turn that flap, locking flap tag, sorry about the terminology, and then obviously that releases that. And there's that one. I'm going to need my hands, so I'll disconnect them. There's another one just under there. It's the same as this. You just press the top and then slide the tag round. So I'm going to go do that. So it's a little bit fiddly to pull the trim out, but it will come out. And obviously you're left with the wires, and then you've got access now to the speedometer and the radio. So the fixings for this, there's going to be 2 T20 torque screws there, 2 T20 screws there, and then you've got T30 screws either side there, and then this will come out as a whole assembly. There's a connector at the top, and obviously the radio connector at the back you'll have to disconnect. So there's also, just noticed, as well as the other screws I've mentioned, there's 2 T20 torque screws either side at the top as well, which I missed, and then that will obviously come out. So just disconnect the harness behind the speedometer and behind the radio, and I can remove that. So next of all, remove the hidden glove box. T20 screw there, one there, and that'll just pull straight out. So once you've undone the 3 T20 screws, just pull that out. That's as simple as that. So now we're going to do the steering column. The top bit just clips on, so if you can just get your trim tool in there somewhere, just give it a little pop. Same this side, just get it in there somewhere, give it a little pop, it will come. And then I found you can just see the tabs here in there. You know, just one either side. So if you just get the little flat blade, you can actually just hook it, and it'll just pop. Obviously just pull it and lift up slightly, give that a wiggle, and it's as good as ready to come. So there's 2 T30 screws behind the rev gauge, so I'll loosen them, which will loosen this unit. I can pull this away, and then we can undo the screws for this. So once I've loosened the T30 screws for the rev, I can just lift that, slide that trim out, and then there's 2 T30s, one there, and then 2 T20s, one there and one there, and then that will remove the lower trim. So that's that. When you've removed the 2 T30 screws from the rev block, you'll be able to take it off, move it round. There's a plug electrical connector there. There'll be fir tree in there. If you just give it a little pull, you'll be able to pull the fir tree out, which just gives you good access to see the plug. And then obviously you can look at undoing it. So you have to push the top in and slide the tag around, similar to the ones on the back of the heater controls earlier. So they're like this. So when it's closed, it'll be like that. So you have to push the little tab in there at the top. Sorry if it's not focusing that great, but push the little tab in, and then you need to just slide that over, that little tab there, and it'll be the same. That's the same there. So once you've disconnected that, remove that, we're going to look at the indicator stalk control. So there's the two connections here. If you get a little screwdriver, sorry the light's not brilliant, on the lower one there's a little gap where you can just pull down the tab and then pull the plug out. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little tab in there, you just pull that down. Just on there. And then that's the same again, where you push the top, pull the tag round to release it. Exactly the same as the speedo. And then we're going to look at undoing this band here, T30. If you just loosen it off, on it, so there's quite a bit of slack because there's a couple of tabs either side. So if you can see the metal, there's a metal tag there. You just want to get this little plastic collar, just lift it over slightly, only a little bit with a screwdriver, and it'll just release it like that. Now there is one the other side usually, but this one was broke, so but you'd normally just do the two, little wiggle, take that straight off. So now it's time to take the dash top off. So there's T20 screws, 6 of them along there. We'll loosen them off, and then there's 2 for the passenger airbag that's behind the secret glove box. 2 T30 screws there, you'll have to take them out as well, and then we can lift the dash top. And roughly here there'll be a connector for the airbag. You'll just have to disconnect. I'll show you that in a second. So with those screws removed along there, you'll sort of get the dash, give it a little pull towards you, a little pull towards the rear of the car, and then it'll just lift up. You can see there is the harness for the airbag. So you can see it. It's got the little tab again. If you just get the flat blade, you can just push that in, and obviously once you've got that in, you can pull the plug straight out. And then once you've done that, you can just basically pull it towards the rear of the car now, put it towards you, and the whole panel will just come out. So this is what it's looking like with the dash top out. It's a bit daunting to say the least. So now you're ready to remove the black cowl that everything's fixed to reveal the aluminium frame behind, which you need to undo to pull forward to gain the access to the blower motor. There's going to be a series of T30 screws in there, down there, there's a couple up here, in the middle you've got T20 screws along here, there's another one there, T30 that is, there's another T30 there, there's 2 in here, one there, there's a few, there's 2 in the centre on the top, and then you'll want to make any disconnections. So if you unscrew the OBD reader, that will actually slide across and go out through the back. disconnect the floor lamp, interior lamps. There's one there, and then you'll have the glove box to disconnect, which you can get in through the end where you remove the cover. And I believe there's one at the bottom under there. You can obviously just pop it out, unplug the lights, so that'll be ready then. Once you've undone the screws and made the disconnections for the interior lights, basically it's ready to pull out. This trim will come out. So with all the screw fixings removed, if you literally just pull this panel, it'll just clip in, pull it towards you, and then it just slides straight out. There's a little massive locator hook there. Same both sides, the other one's on the floor there, and then the whole thing there will come towards you and you'll be able to pull it out. So I'm going to pull that out and I'll show you what it looks like. And there you have it. That's the black trim out of the way. So we're nearly there, nearly got access. What you're going to have to do next is disconnect the socket there. So just give it a pull and that will come out. There's 4 T40 screws there, one there, one there and one there, because basically we're going to have to drop the steering rack. So there is a bit of weight when you're undoing these. Just leave one in a bit, take the other 3 out, and then obviously you can hold this unit whilst you just finish that one off, and then just simply lower it down into the footwell. It will just rest here. So there's your steering rack lowered on the floor. Once I've removed the four T40 bolts and obviously made the disconnect with this cable, you're now ready to pull the alloy bracket framework away to get your access from the top for the blower motor. So there's 2 13mm bolts either side, as you can see. Back to the T30, sorry, the T30 Torx drives again. There's going to be one there, one here, 2 down the bottom, one there, and almost last but not least, if you undo the centre one, it just gives you enough wiggle room on the centre console that you can then undo these 2 and pull those out. It is a bit tight, but you can just get a bit of wiggle room once that bolt's removed. Some people like to take out centre console, but I found that I don't need to do it. It doesn't need to come out. You can just get enough room. And then hidden under the steering rack, there's the final 2 bolts there, and they're Torx bolts again, T30, but they are just 2 hidden there, which was under the steering rack. That would sit like that, covering them. And then you can pull the whole frame forward enough to work at the top and get to the motor. Okay, so once all those you've undone them and taken all the bolts and the screws, I did warn you earlier that there are plenty of screws, so I hope you've kept them all together. We can now pull this aluminium tray or framing, just pull it towards you gently. You can now see we've got access to the blower motor, and all of the work we've just done is because this little unit here stops us from getting in. Just pop this just pop this hose off the vent there, and then there's a screw underneath. And there. Top one here. So undo that. Just get that screw. Use the magnet so I don't lose it. So there's 2 of the T20 screws. This motor, there's a clip there. You just squeeze them together. You can actually just push it out the arm. I'm going to have to use my other hand, so I'll come back to you in a minute. So once you just squeezed the clip there, you can push it out the rod, and then you can just literally swing that out the way, disconnect the socket for the blower motor, which is there. You can just unhook it off the top of the motor and just squeeze these ends in here, and then it will disconnect. So now we're disconnected. There's 3 T20 torque screws that screw the motor into the housing. One here, one there, just at the back there, and then one here. And it's this one here that's actually covered by that unit. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew them and remove the motor. So I'm not sure if you can see, light's obviously not very good, but the motor will sit here. I know light's not great, but you can just see it. So I'm going to route the new motor back in. There's the new one.